Welcome to the Mama's Well podcast, where we're digging deep into the gifts and the gaps in foster and adoptive parenting. I'm Tara Hutton, and I'm glad you're here.
Mama's Well.
Yes, she is. Welcome to the Mama's Well podcast. And every week we try to talk about things that are important to foster and adoptive parents. And today I'm going to talk about something that has been very important to me, and it's not something that I was taught as a child. And it's something that I've had to learn as an adult. Super important for my children that I learned this, and that is regulation. We talk often about our kids being regulated. What I found in my own home is that it starts with me. I say this every week, but the regulation has to start with me. And so I wanted to invite Anna Valdez back. We have really gained a lot from Anna. And so Anna, I'm going to introduce you again. TBRI, trust-based relational intervention, in case anybody doesn't know what that is. You are a practitioner, and then you are also, and I'm always forgetting this one, it's Jane Schooler. I know the name of what is their program?
Trauma-Free World.
Trauma-Free World.
Yeah, I'm an affiliate trainer for Trauma-Free World.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And Anna's in from Austin, and this is what she trains foster and adoptive parents all the time. Mm-hmm. And so Anna, gives a brief background because I want to make people go back and see you on other episodes if they want the whole story. Okay.
Yeah.
So today, give us this brief description about what you've been doing for the past 10 years. And then I want you to help us, parents, understand regulation, understand how it starts with us, and the power that we have when we can regulate ourselves.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I love being here with you. My journey started as a caregiver in a children's home in Mexico. And I was there for over 5 years, a little over 5 years, and I cared for 17 teen girls while I was there. And that just started my questioning about why am I seeing these behaviors? Why don't I have the tools to deal with this? Why can't I care for them well? Why aren't they improving? Why does the school keep calling me about this? All these questions started my prompting into learning more about trauma, and that's where I ended up, trauma, and how trauma in early childhood impacts your present, impacts your development, impacts you as an adult. And that's why I'm so passionate about this and dedicate my life to this now, right? It's because of those girls that I cared for.
I get it. You were a mama at a very young age that was a high-skilled job that you had to learn on the job really fast.
Yeah.
That's not so different than what we as foster parents and adoptive parents are doing. Like, we are inviting trauma into our homes, and we have to, a lot of times, all the time, learn on the job.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we take courses and we take training, but there's nothing like the real life, boots on the ground, parenting kids from trauma.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I've been a parent for 23 years. And to be honest, and we have 3 biological sons, 23, 21, 17. Mm-hmm. To be honest, even parenting those children, back, say, 23 years ago when my first son was born, I struggled with regulation myself. My son struggled with, particularly my first one. At that time, I thought I didn't know the term regulation. I didn't know what was happening. I called it being overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Some people called what my son was doing a temper tantrum. Mm-hmm. But there was something in my gut that said that wasn't a temper tantrum. Because what they were saying is that's basically my child is not getting what he wants, and so he's throwing a fit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of derogatory,
right?
Framing
they're manipulating you. They're spoiled. All those labels that we put on kids.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's dive in real quick and let's talk about what is regulation. So regulation, when you're regulated, you have the ability to focus, right, on the task at hand. You have the ability to calm down. You are operating at your optimal state when you're regulated, right? You can do what is required of you to do, right, as long as it's age appropriate and that kind of thing. So regulation is really necessary for kids, especially, right? I like to joke because I think adults always just want kids to be regulated and to just calm down, listen, be quiet, and behave. That's all that we want.
Seen and not heard.
Yeah, that's really what we need from them. But here's the thing, that when our kids come from trauma, when they have a history of early childhood trauma really impacts their stress system and impacts their ability to be able to self-regulate. It makes them more quickly to go into dysregulation, more quickly to go into what can look like bad behavior or a temper tantrum, right? So regulation is built in relationship. So it's built through attachment with your primary caregiver. It's something that happens in your development that you need. And it's so interesting. To me, self-regulation is so interesting because you cannot skip any part of it. If you skip a part of it, you cannot progress until you go back. Like, it's staggered on top of each other. Like,
wow, I've never heard that.
Yeah, there's three different like kind of phases to reach self-regulation, and many people are now saying, like, you will always need someone to help you regulate, and don't we like always call our friend when we're like stressed? Yeah. But there's really like three parts. And again, this is through relationships. So think about early on in life for your child, especially if your child was not with you early on in life, what that was like for them. But 3 stages. So the first one is external regulation. So an infant, a baby, can they meet any need on their own? No. They need someone from the outside to feed them, to clothe them, to warm them up, to comfort them, soothe them, all these needs, right? So someone externally, that caregiver, comes from the outside to meet the need of the child. That is external regulation. The child is learning, getting messages through this regulation, through this need being met. Oh, this is what hunger feels like, and this is what I need. Oh, this is what this feeling of, let's say, loneliness feels like, and it just helped that my mom came to comfort me, right? So they're doing 2 things. They're identifying what the need is, they're learning, and then they're also learning what helps them meet that need, right? That's the first stage. Once a child, that happens pretty frequently in the child's life, then they can move on to the second stage, and that's co-regulation. That's when the caregiver and the child work together to meet the need of the child. So there comes a time, right, where the child starts to speak, and what are some first words of a child?
Mama.
Dada. Mama, dada, right? And they'll go, Mama, dada. And you look down to your baby, you're like, oh, you want me to carry you and give you a hug? Sure, I'll do that. That is child and mom working together, or child and caregiver working together to meet that child's needs. The child starts to point, starts to talk, starts to recognize what they need. That's co-regulation.
Right.
When that is done consistently, and let's think about all the areas that needs to be done with, not only emotionally, like to meet their emotional needs, but their physical needs, their social needs, right? All that the child practices to one day get to a point where they can self-regulate, right? Where they know what they need, they can recognize it, hey, I'm feeling a little bit sad, work was really hard today. I'm going to call this person because that usually helps me. Like, I know how to get my needs met. Right. And I still need that other person to co-regulate, right? Yeah. But I know how to initiate that and get my needs met.
Is that what you meant by we might that there's some research that says we might always need?
Yeah, some therapists that I look up to say, you know what, forget about self-regulation. You're always going to need someone, and it's true, right?
Yeah.
But
that teaches us to build our community, to build that
definitely
framework.
Right, and we can look at it two ways. So that is in a nutshell what regulation is. Mm-hmm. So every person needs to develop the skill, needs to be able to know how to regulate. Our children definitely do, right? And we get frustrated with those dysregulated behaviors, but don't we need to learn that as well?
Yeah, that's what I was finding as a very as a first-time mom. When my son was dysregulated, I was becoming dysregulated, and so then we had two dysregulated people. Yeah. But in my gut, I knew, like, this isn't a temper tantrum. There's something not right. And it's caused me to search.
Right. And a dysregulated brain or parent cannot regulate another dysregulated brain
Impossible.
or parent. You just cannot, right? If your child starts, and I'm thinking about an infant, your infant starts crying, and then you try to soothe them, it doesn't work, and you get nervous, and you're like, why does the baby keep crying? Yeah. Now people are looking at me. Yeah. Now you're dysregulated. Yeah. It's going to be so much harder for you to try to soothe that child, because two dysregulated people can't regulate one. Mm-hmm. So it's so important as parents that we recognize, before we jump into certain issues with our kids, like, are my needs met? Am I dysregulated right now? What is something quick? Because we usually have to do it quick. Yeah. But what is something quick we can do to regulate myself so that I can help my child regulate?
How can we recognize our dysregulation? Because one of the things that I notice about myself is I didn't take the time to even notice myself. I was just moving into an action. To stop a behavior, right? To stop whatever's going on, to stop it. Mm-hmm. Instead of, I didn't know how, and I can still struggle with how, I'm not even taking the time to notice that I'm dysregulated.
I think something to keep in mind is, like, your body is constantly talking to you. Is constantly giving you cues, right? Like, something doesn't feel right. I feel nervous. I feel shaky. I feel anxious. I don't feel okay. I'm not operating at my optimal state. You might be dysregulated right there. Yeah. Our kids are probably really good at pushing us into be dysregulated, right? Yeah. Because we have, all these other things of life coming at us, and then sometimes it just takes a behavior from our child to make us explode and dysregulate.
I like to think, and I'm sure I could not take credit for this because this is maybe here in Purvis, I don't know, but the cup that's got water in it, and then you go throughout the day and the water keeps being poured in and poured in, poured in and poured in, and if you haven't taken any time to kind of empty that down, then just a tiny splash is gonna overflow the cup.
Yeah, that's your window of tolerance, right? Yeah. Like, how much can you handle before you explode? Right. Definitely.
So being able to recognize my body, noticing those sensations, like, is tension. I hold tension in we've talked about this today. I hold tension in my neck and shoulders. Do I feel tense? Do I feel tired? Those are some of the things that are easier for me to recognize. Because what I typically say is, I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed, or those are the phrases that come to mind.
Yeah, and so what do I need to be able to regulate a little bit more now, right? And we usually think of self-care, I'm bringing up this buzzword, as, something we do once a year when we take vacation, or something we do only on the weekends. But in order to stay in our window of tolerance, right, to not explode, in order to stay regulated, there might be things that we consistently need to do for ourselves. Simple things, right? Like, when did I eat last? When did I drink water last? When did I, get up from this chair last? I've been trying to do homework, especially, for those parents that maybe you had to give your kids virtual classes or help them through virtual school. Like, I've been trying to do homework all day and we haven't taken a break from this, right? What am I meeting my needs also in a consistent way?
Yeah, that's right. One of the things that I began practicing in March of 2018 was meditation. And it's really mindfulness, practicing mindfulness.
Yeah.
And mindfulness meditation. I don't need to get into all the semantics of exactly what I do, but just the thing that I think's helped me is being aware. It's teaching me to be aware of my body. Because like I said earlier, I just moved into action without stopping and noticing what's going on. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I just was moving into action, not mindful of what I was doing.
We do that so much as parents, don't we? Because we have to, drop kids off at school, go get groceries, go pay this bill, go run this errand. We do all these things. We finally get home. We put the groceries down and we're like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, and I need to go to the bathroom all at the same time. Yeah. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh,
because we just forget about meeting our own needs, and then all of a sudden our body needs all these things all at the same time.
Yeah. I think that's kind of why it's helped me, is because it's a time that I set aside, that I've given myself permission. In my mind, I've created it as something that I do for myself so that I could be a better parent. And so, whereas in the past I might not even sit down. Right. I might even notice by the end of the day, I'm so exhausted. And if I say, have you even sat down today? I don't think so. You know what I mean? That's just something I struggle with, you know? But just sitting down and being quiet. I know yesterday I was very tired and I just went in and turned on a mindfulness track and listened, and I fell asleep. Now, it wasn't very long, but I woke up. And it was like I just emptied some of my cup out. Yeah. So I could make it through the night. You know what I mean? That's one thing that's helped me.
And think about, like, what parts of the day are particularly hard for your child. So a lot, I hear a lot, something very common with foster parents, adoptive parents, is bedtime, right? And if we go through the whole day like that, and then we expect to be able to do the good bedtime routine with our kids that really need that in order for them to actually fall asleep and get, that's going to be, you're asking so much of yourself at that point, right?
Yeah, totally.
But if we can, like you said, empty our cup a little bit, because we know I tend to get dysregulated at bedtime just as much as my child does. And I need to make that window of tolerance bigger so that I can handle this. I can be more present with them. I can be able to meet their needs. What do I need to be able to operate optimally?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I notice a difference when I don't do it, when I don't do the afternoon. And here's another thing that we parents can do this, is we just need to drink a cup of coffee just so we can get through the night. And then what does that do to our sleep?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's just this vicious cycle that unfortunately I've found myself in before, and I can't even say in the past, like present, you just, this is hard work, parenting, right? This is not sissy stuff.
It's hard work because our kids that come from trauma, kids in care, kids who have been adopted, they need, I would venture to say, more of us, right? They are going to go more quickly into a dysregulated state, because trauma has impacted that stress system of theirs, right? So they quickly, they're not able to handle a transition, not able to handle a change of plans, right? Not able to tell their body, calm down, because it's time to go to bed. Their system is just running, and they can't do these things. They need us to either externally regulate them or co-regulate with them. And the bigger they are, the older they are, the taller they are, the harder it is for us to understand, like, hey, you should be able to do this. Yeah. Right? You should be able to focus, to regulate yourself at this point, And it feels so unnatural for us as parents. It's easier to understand, like a 3-year-old, of course they need our help, right? A 2-year-old, of course they need our help.
Right.
But a 16-year-old?
So what are some ways? I'm sitting here thinking of my own life. I'll tell you some things that get us dysregulated. I'll say us because it typically is a team effort. But, we go to a school where we have 2 days at home of schooling. So this whole virtual thing is not new to me. We've been doing some home schooling, and it's challenging because I have some messaging from my past where, around words. So if my daughters start to struggle and say they don't want to do it or whatever, some messaging that can go off in my head is lazy, not trying, not hard worker, quitter, all these things that are wrapped up in some messaging from my childhood. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so when really what's happening with her is she's becoming dysregulated. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's looked at a word that maybe it's got 4 syllables. And she's like, oh, whoa, I can't do this. You know what I mean? So she starts to go off the rail, then I start to go off the rail, and then, oh my gosh, it can take us 4 hours to do 30 minutes. If we go down that, and, there's plenty of people in my home that can attest we've been down that road.
The train is derailed.
It is not fun. It
Yeah.
is not fun. And so sitting here in this safe environment, I can think of all these different ways that we could co-regulate together. But in that moment,
because you're not regulated.
exactly,
And there's,
I'm not regulated.
I think that situation brings up a lot of things to talk about. And it happens all the time, right, with us. But one, you're not regulated. And you really, as a parent, we really need to be regulated in order to help our kids regulate, right? Another thing is, I think I mentioned this in one of the past episodes that I've done, but like the more we understand of our child and how trauma and their history has impacted them, the more our compassion will grow and the more tolerant we'll be. So we have these expectations. At this age, the child should be able to do this. Or if a child doesn't do homework, they're lazy. Or in our household, we work hard. Whatever it is that we have, but a child who has experienced trauma literally does not have the development yet to do that. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they won't do it for you or they don't like you or they are deliberately disobeying you. Mm-hmm. It's that they literally cannot do it. The parts of the brain that they need are either offline or not even developed yet to be able to do what you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
So that's why we need the parent to come alongside, right, and fill in those gaps in development and help them regulate and give them more practice so that their brain can start to heal.
So could we just use, because I am the host of this show, could we just use that schooling? Because I don't think I'm the only one, right, struggling in this way. I have a feeling that a lot of kids are dysregulated and a lot of parents are dysregulated right now around schooling. Mm-hmm. So could we use that example? And selfishly, I'm just wanting you to feed to me and my family. But knowing that a lot of us are struggling, could we use that example of, you're working with your child. And here's the other factor. I'm a teacher, Anna. Mm-hmm. So when I cannot get my child to understand something or to engage with me in something that I know she's done before or can do, what kind of messaging is going on in my head that's triggering me to be more and more dysregulated? Mm-hmm. I've read plenty of trauma books. I've been to plenty of, conferences. I study this stuff. I'm a teacher. I've taught early childhood. I've taught to 5th grade. I know how to do it, and yet I'm not
when you're operating optimally.
Yeah.
Right. So again, one, I would say regulate yourself. And if that means we need to pause, you know what? If everyone in the room, even teachers out there, if you're listening to this, if I was teaching now, I did teach about, at the beginning of my career, that's what I started. But if everyone in my classroom was dysregulated and just nobody had the capacity to pay attention to the math that I wanted to teach, I would need to stop everything that I'm doing. And you know what? Let's all regulate together. Let's do something to bring us all back to green, because we are either, red, where our engine of our body is on high alert, it's super hyperactive, there's so much energy, or super angry, or we're on blue, where the engine of my body is tired and slow and sad and depressed, or, but we need to get to green, where we're operating optimally. And this comes from TBRI, right? Their engine plate. Okay. So why don't we just pause and, you know what? I need this, you need this. Let's regulate right now. Do we need water? When was the last time we had water? Kids from trauma need water every 2 hours, right? Do we need a snack? When was the last time we had a protein snack? Kids from trauma need a snack every 2 hours. Mom, when was the last time you ate? Did you just come in from running 10 errands and you still haven't even eaten, right? Mm-hmm. Let's have some nuts together. Let's have a piece of ham or turkey together, some deli meat, and let's take a break, and then we'll come back and see if we can do this well. Do we need to breathe? Do we need some breathing exercise? Do we need exercise? Kids that have experienced trauma need about 15 minutes of movement every 2 hours. When was the last time we got some movement, some play? So I would first try to meet my needs in that way, try to get everybody again regulated, and let's try again. Let's try again. If you say like you're regulated, the only one who's not regulated is your child, then let's regulate them. What is their calming plan? Especially if this is a pattern, like we'll have kids that maybe are easily angered, or kids that are always struggling to get to bed, always struggling to come in from playing outside. I am going to have a plan beforehand to help them build that skill.
And they are in the plan with you. Y'all are in on it. Y'all create.
So in a time when we are, in a time when we're connected, in a time when we're calm, I'm going to bring that up. I'll share a quick story. Yeah. So when I was with my girls, one thing that happened a lot where we were at in the children's home is almost every time it rained, the lights would go off and it would get, completely dark. And the first time I experienced this with them, you can imagine I had about 9 to 10 girls in the same room, like a room maybe about this big, and lights went off. It got hot. They started yelling and screaming. They were just so dysregulated. We'll put it that way. And all I could think to do, I didn't have any of this training, so I'm going to give myself some grace. Yeah. But all I could think to do was stand at the door and make sure nobody got out. And I didn't know what else to do. This happened multiple times. And I said, I'm just going to talk to them about it. I don't understand why this is happening. Yeah. So I made a good dinner, and a good dinner for us was spaghetti with bread, lots of bread and butter, because that was really good for them. Yeah. And I said, I just brought it up. We were all happy. We're all, full. And I said, do you guys notice that every time the lights go off, you go kind of crazy? And they all started laughing. They knew. They knew. I said, let's come up with a plan. I had a piece of like cardboard paper there. I said, I have 4 flashlights. I have my cell phone to play music. Who wants to be with a flashlight in the bathroom in case anybody needs to go to the bathroom? And they said, no, we need 2 people there. We can't have one person alone. I was like, okay, good idea. What 2 people want the flashlight? The blue flashlights for the bathroom. What about the living room? The red flashlights for the living room. We made a plan. She was going to be here. Good. She's going to be here. She's going to be here. This one girl was going to have my cell phone and play music. And we posted that baby up on the bedroom, and we said, we're waiting for the lights to go off.
And you need to memorize it because you won't be able to read it when the lights are out.
Well, now that I think of it, we should have practiced it. We didn't practice it, but we should have. That's something we should do. Okay. But again, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, you did good. So, that was just your instinct.
Yeah, that was, out of many prayers. What do I do? Yeah. And next time the lights went out, I just said, they were starting to get, rowdy and yell and get hot. And I said, the plan. I just repeated that over and over. And you could literally tell they started freezing and like, click, click, click.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We
The
have a
flashlights are over here. And slowly get there. We literally had to do that maybe 5 to 7 times until we didn't need it anymore. And when the lights went off, we could go to our beds and start getting to bed because there was nothing else to do at that point.
Wow.
But here's what I didn't know. And this is where, our compassion grows when we understand things. But I didn't know that for a while before I arrived, they did not have a caregiver. They didn't have anyone caring for them. They were like the rowdy ones of the home that were really hard. So every night someone would come to their dorm and lock them in for the night. And they had to take care of themselves, put themselves to bed. So whenever the lights turned off like that, the reason they would yell and scream was to try to get someone's attention because they were scared.
Sure.
They were a bunch of girls alone in the dark. But when I gave their brain, when we came up with a plan together, it wasn't even me, it was all of us together. We gave their brain a new experience. A plan to get regulated, a plan to not be in that fear mode in their brain. Now their brain believed, I am safe. I know what to do. I have a new pathway, and it's going to be okay.
Very good.
And I think when we can think that way, especially with patterned behavior, sometimes things happen that we don't even understand. Yeah. But especially with patterned behavior, what is a calming plan to help our kids regulate and get them out of that fear brain mode?
Yeah. That is so good. I could take that little story, that story will stick with me, and that story will, I'm going to tear up, that story will help me a lot. Mm. So good, because I know it's just like being intentional with anything. I mean, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're being intentional. You're looking at Adele Faber, one of my favorite, she wrote How to Talk So Kids Will Listen So They'll Talk. She says, when a problem arises, we don't blame. We look for solution.
I like that.
I do too. And that was one of my cards that was posted when my kids were growing up. Anyway, that's what you're doing. We're just kind of picking apart this parenting, these issues that we're having, and we're going, what's underneath that, and how can we make a solution?
And our kids will not be able to tell us, this is why, parents. Like, I think we expect that sometimes. We want to say, what happened to you? What's your story? Yeah. Did somebody hit you? Or
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and they won't be able to know. It's just that they can't do it. As much as in that example, I shut off by just guarding the door. I just stopped my interaction. I just turned off, right? I was also dysregulated in a very different way. That's how they were dysregulated as well. And it's not until we both had a plan, what do we do? How do we get ourselves back on track, that we could move forward? Yeah. And that's where I love when Dr. Karen Purvis says, like, it's you and your child against their story, right? It's not me against you and let me punish you and make you do what we do in this family, but it's me and my child against their history, right? Trying to find those solutions to keep this train rolling and really, heal.
So good,
is what we want
That was
from
so
them.
good, Karen Purvis. Thank you for that. Yeah,
definitely.
Isn't that great? Because it's not how we were. I can only speak for myself, but it's not how I was raised. That's not how I was raised.
Yeah.
It was very, I'm the parent, you're the child. And
traditional parenting.
What you feel, what you need is basically insignificant up against this rule or this authority or whatever. And that's not just, my parents were doing that. They were great parents. They did the best they could.
Yeah.
That's how they were raised.
Right.
Right? But that is powerful to come up with a plan together. And I know all my kids appreciate when I invite them into a solution, coming up with a solution to a problem because they know it's a problem.
Right.
They don't like it either.
They know. And the older they are, the more they need to be included in that solution. Older kids crave that and need that for buy-in. They definitely need that.
Yeah. I mean, with younger kids, though, I think you know the plan, but if you can allow them to feel a part,
Definitely.
you see what I mean? You've already got the plan in your head, but you let them feel a part. Well, what would you think? What do you think that we should do? Well, what do you think what would help you calm down? You know? Very good, Anna. Wow.
I'm glad that's helpful.
Let's rephrase that. Let's just repeat that. These are repetitive things that have happened. We take and we look at these repetitive dysregulations that are going on, and we come up with a solution. What is our part in it, and then what is their part in it, and then coming up with a solution.
And here's the thing, and this is where, if we stop too long to think about it, like we could cry about this all day, but the reason their stress system developed this way is for survival.
Yeah.
They would have not come to your door, to your family, alive, breathing, if they had not developed this response as a way to survive.
Yeah.
So if I think about going back to the girls, if they had not developed, when the lights go off, in order for me to feel safe, I'm going to scream to try to get an adult to come and comfort me. Well, you know what would have happened, So, yeah, a lot of this developed as a form of survival, right? Their body's response to be able to survive.
Yeah, our survival strategies. Yeah, that's very good. Got any more nuggets like that?
I mean, I think that's enough. Just
that's so good.
That's a lot to take in and to
to
think about. Like, my regulation matters, right?
Yeah.
Where I am as a parent, and also where is my child coming from? How does their history play into this? And it's me and my child against their history.
Yeah, and you know what? You can make up all the story. It's on your own. This is how I sometimes develop compassion. It starts with me. I know I got to be self-compassionate. Okay, this is hard. As Kristen Neff says, this is hard, right? This is hard. A lot of us parents are dealing with hard, right? We have to deal with that. And then, how can I approach this with kindness, with loving kindness, compassion? And I think that that's important to think about their story. Even if you don't know the story, you can make some assumptions that help you with your compassion. Because it doesn't matter. I'd be like, when I first learned about the fear response, I'm just like, I don't understand. What are they afraid of? Like, there's nothing to be afraid of right here, right now. But that's their body was afraid, And
that's how it's kind of like a programmed response. Like, they're programmed to respond that way when they're stressed, really. Right. When they feel threatened, when they go in that fear mode.
Yeah. I'm thinking right now of a solution that I could put into place at home. We have a trampoline. And I have a jump rope in our house and also a hula hoop. I think the hula hoop got bent up and we had to ditch it. But I'm really big on making them move. Like, go run around. I need you to go run around the living room 4 times. Don't come back until you run around 4 times. That's 4 times. I need you to skip. Now they have these little poof things. They like to jump over, make hurdles. And so awesome. I'm good at that for them. But I think, and I've done this before, I think I need to add it. I think I need to be doing that with them let's go out. I'll say, go out and jump on the trampoline for 15 minutes. Don't come back in until you jump. I need to see you jumping.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the piece that I might be missing is that maybe I need to be doing that too.
Yeah, getting your needs met for sure.
Yeah, maybe that's a need of mine. I know that it's not necessarily what I want to do right then. But I think it works for them, so why wouldn't it work for me?
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, you start to recognize as an adult, this is what helps, and this is what I need to be doing on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's good. Wow. Was that good or what? So, Anna, thank you for coming. Will you come
course.
back?
Yes.
Gosh, I
will.
just loved
had so
listening
much
to
fun.
you. And you are a teacher. You are an excellent teacher. And you are not, what sets you apart is that you're not just teaching, but you live it, you've lived it in some what's that word? What's that word?
Extraneous?
Circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, children who have been orphaned,
Yeah.
or maybe not orphaned, but have not lived, a girl's home, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the top of the charts in foster care, in my opinion. And so you have done that, and that just makes what you have to teach even more powerful.
Yeah, I always say I have so many stories. Whenever we go for coffee, I have so many stories to tell you about. Yeah, definitely. I learned through experience. Before I started this journey, I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
And after I learned about it, I was like, got it.
So good.
No wonder.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us. Do not forget to download your Wisdom from the Well card. Please share this with your foster and adoptive communities on your socials. We need each other. We need to be talking about this. We need to be comforting and encouraging and co-regulating each other as well as our children. So please, please, please share. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.
Mama's well.
Yes, she is.